Gentlemen, please take a moment to silence all mobile devices. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The program is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, please find your seats. Our afternoon featured sessions are about to begin, and please take a moment to move down front and fill in all available seating. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Vice President, Employee Experience and Engagement at GitHub, Merritt Q. Anderson.
Oh my gosh. Hello, universe! Oh my gosh. Energy is amazing. Hello, my name is Merritt Kiesenbing Anderson, and I have the distinct privilege of being a leader here at GitHub. But before I was a leader, I was a hubber since 2014. I am beyond proud to be a part of this company and to stand on this stage representing it. As the VP of Employee Experience and Engagement, the concept of bringing your whole self to work is tangible and very real to me. I was 3 months pregnant when I accepted the offer to join GitHub's legal team. And saying that I was apprehensive is putting it mildly. I was apprehensive because I was unsure that what I brought to the table was going to be enough to overcome what I perceived to be the barrier of needing to ask for maternity leave in 3 short months. I was leaving behind a comfortable, established career at Kaiser Permanente to join a 200-person, highly technical company. I had no prior experience in tech, had no clue what a contribution graph was, and didn't have any idea about the sheer power of the open source community. What I did know about GitHub then is the same thing that I know today, and that is that it is an incredible, very special place. Special because it not only embraces, but encourages the whimsy, the delight. A place where something that seems harebrained and unimaginable, though well thought out and written well, becomes real. Despite what I know now to be imposter syndrome at the time, I wanted to be a part of all of it. And I'm so happy that I took the leap into what was totally unknown to realize that I absolutely belong here. I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to be with you all and to give you a glimpse into what we're doing inside of GitHub with our employees and our platform to create a culture of belonging. Our goal at GitHub, which I'm sure you've heard, is to be the place where the world goes to code, where developers go to hone their skills, and where new developers are born. Whether you've just contributed your first line of code, or this is how you earn your living, whether it's a side hustle or a weekend hobby, or you just attended your first hackathon, we want GitHub to be the platform where you can build, learn, create, explore, and grow. We take great pride in our platform and recognize that we are in an incredibly unique position to not only set the standard, but accelerate what inclusion should and must look like in software. It is no secret that software needs to be more inclusive. Demographics are shifting in the world, and we must be more aware and agile as we build, realizing that in order to be the very best, most inclusive platform, serving developers all over the world, we must first be the best, most inclusive workplace and workforce right here at home. Our intention and our journey on both of these fronts has never been more aligned. We believe that diversity of experience, background, and identity not only makes us better colleagues to one another, but amplifies our spirit, that spirit of innovation that is so core to GitHub, to make sure that our platform reflects it. We're empowering our employees to create, to tinker, to develop, and bring inspiration to the platform. We want everyone to not only feel welcome, but a strong sense of belonging on GitHub. So, with that at the top of our mind, and in the way that GitHub does, we went out and created a new function. It's called Employee Experience and Engagement. This is our purpose, and I'll let you all look at the words here. It's how we work, and it's how we weave it into everything that we do. Employee Experience and Engagement, or EEE, as we like to call it, exists to focus on the experience of our employees, or our hubbers, as we lovingly call ourselves. We are embedding belonging into all dimensions of our team's thinking and output, from how we construct the spaces that we work in, to the learning and development programs we design, from how we communicate across miles and borders, to how we foster organic support systems so that we can all connect with each other in meaningful ways. There is nothing that I want more than for every employee to wake up in the morning or at night, whatever is good for you, and do the very best work of their lives. Work that gives them not only purpose, but that sets the standard of excellence in the software industry and enables them to make impactful change to who and what creates the future of technology. Say hello to the EEE organization. It's an intentional coming together of established teams, learning and development and workplace operations, with newly forming teams, Hubber Experience, employee advocacy, and diversity, inclusion, and belonging. It's brought under one umbrella so that we can intentionally amplify our commitment to belonging and create the best employee experience possible. Learning and development is an amazing team. They're passionate about creating meaningful connections while building a community of continuous learning. Designed and facilitated by our team, Manager Learning Labs help to support our leaders of tomorrow, to help them build the skills necessary to lead our growing teams and to support one another to put them into practice, to make them actionable. We've also partnered with Everwise to provide mentorship opportunities both inside and outside of GitHub. And we're really proud that we've been able to create a learning portal for curated resources and sharing through our partnership with Degreed. We recognize that most learning happens organically on the job, as well it should. But we also want to provide Hubbers with a pathway to learn what and how they want to. And we're able to do this with our annual L&D benefit stipend. From the minute one decides to become a Hubber, we want those inspirational pillars of support to build them up to do the best work of their lives. Whether it's onboarding new Hubbers or helping bring brilliant students from all backgrounds into tech through our internship program, we always want to leave them at the end of the day saying, I 100% made the right choice in joining GitHub. Welcoming new employees into GitHub is really important, but it's equally as important to show our present and our future Hubbers the love through our rewards program, celebrating major milestones both in work and life, whether it's shipping a big project or welcoming a new Octokitten into the family. The magic ignited on day one should never stop. The Hubber Experience team harnesses its passion and its enthusiasm for our employees into creating experiences and programs that recognize, empathize with, support, and celebrate all of us. In doing this, we are far bigger than ourselves, far bigger than our individual selves, and become a connected community of belonging. I'm so excited to see what this team is going to bring us. Our workplace operations team has been at the forefront of our scale and our growth, from home offices all over the world to co-working spaces in burgeoning cities like Atlanta and New York, to our offices in Boulder, Amsterdam, and Tokyo, and our headquarters here in San Francisco. They are masters of brick and mortar, of design, of architecture, and of ensuring that all of our spaces are warm, welcoming, consistent, and enhance the overall employee experience. I love that our new office space in SF was designed in the true GitHub fashion, collaboratively and with a lens of inclusion. Inclusion of thought, of ideas, and of a growing workforce that is increasingly a reflection of the backgrounds from which we come and the communities in which we operate in. We have gender-inclusive bathrooms and dedicated spaces throughout that foster organic connection and conversation. We also know a little bit about the pace of growth at a startup, of the burnout that is so real for so many, and that oftentimes we just need to press pause. So with that in mind, we designed and constructed a prayer and meditation room for reflection, for spiritual fulfillment, and quiet. In these spaces, we hope that Hubbers can think, refresh, and go back to their big ideas. How many of you have ever had somebody speak up for you, or you have spoken up on behalf of someone else? Show of hands. How many of you have ever had something happen in your life, and in hindsight, you really wish that you'd had an additional pair of ears to help you navigate through it? That is what the employee advocate is, and I am personally so proud to serve in this capacity at GitHub. The employee experience is multi-layered. It's complex, and it's very dynamic. As the advocate, I am one of the many layers, an additional channel, an open space for feedback, and complementary, I should say, to my incredible colleagues in HR. Whether it's about decision-making or ensuring that, an element of identity is considered, Hubbers have a sounding board and a thought partner to ensure they are heard, engaged, and aligned with how we're making decisions at the company and that they're aligned with our values and our business objectives. This function is a work in progress. We're shaping it literally as the needs of our employees arise. But there's one thing that's really clear to me, crystal clear really, and that is this role is critical to our future success. It's critical to our success because it embodies and amplifies the voice of our people, the people that work daily to build and foster an inclusive GitHub experience. Finally, think of a time when you really didn't know if you belonged somewhere. It may have been on the playground on your first day of school when, you didn't know who to play with. Maybe you walked into a room and questioned why you were the only one. The only one that was the introvert. The only person with a visible disability. The only woman. The only person of color. Now, think about a time when you felt that you were absolutely in the right place from go. No question that you belonged. No question. No question that you were in a place where you could thrive, where you felt the support. It was oozing out of the people around you, that you knew you were going to be challenged. You were working on cool things. The opportunities were rich, and you knew that you were going to be able to grow. That's what we're creating right here at GitHub, both in our offices and on our platform. We believe and we have seen that when people can show up, bring their whole self to work, and contribute their best work, we all benefit. We're integrating inclusion and belonging into how we work together, how we build our product, and how we grow our communities. But real talk, we don't always get it right. We don't. We don't have it all figured out. We want to do it well, and it is that commitment to do it well, and knowing that we all come to this from a different place, from a different depth of understanding, and from different experiences. But doing it well means that we must be committed to having conversations that are not always going to be comfortable, to acknowledging when we miss the mark, and we know that we're going to. But in the spirit of GitHub, to iterating to ensure that we're making good on the promise. And that's the promise of diversity, inclusion, and belonging on GitHub, at GitHub, and in the tech ecosystem. I'll take a clap. Oh my goodness. Because we do know the cost if we don't, and we know the endless potential if we do it and get this right. So the opportunity is now. We can set the universal standard for the software industry. So let us all together go forth and focus on the employee experience, focus on engagement, on really making sure that people feel like they're included in the conversation and that they belong here, in our internal communities, in our products, and on our platforms, and as I said, in the entire tech ecosystem. Next, I'm honored to introduce you to two of our Hubbers who are infusing inclusion and belonging into their day-to-day. First, you'll hear from Jared Jones, who will share the story of our inaugural employee resource group, the Blackticats. And then you'll hear from software engineer Danielle Leong about how we're building inclusion into our product. For us here at GitHub, diversity, inclusion, and belonging, if you can take one thing away, it's that this is more than just a numbers game. This is about how we're building our product with all of our communities in mind. The open source community hails from across the globe, and we need to reflect this both within our walls and on our platform. So before I welcome Jared to the stage, I also want to share that we've opened a GoFundMe page in support of those affected by the fires to the north of us. Please check the monitors around the venue over the next few days for more information about how you can participate and contribute. Thank you all for your time, and please help me in welcoming Jared Jones to the stage.
Good afternoon, universe. My name is Jared Jones. I'm a business development manager at GitHub, but I'm also a proud member of GitHub's first ever employee resource group, the Black Cats. Hopefully by now you know about most of the awesome things we're building here at GitHub. But we're also building something that's incredibly important to our future, a diverse and inclusive workplace. That work ties directly into the Black Cat's purpose, to attract and empower Black lives in tech. Before the Black Cats existed, in 2016, GitHub published its first ever diversity report. In that report, 2% of Hubbers identified as Black or African American. Shortly after that, a few self-organized, motivated Hubbers decided we were more than just Black employees. With the help and support of a few, well, actually quite a few, employees at GitHub, including our executive staff, we came together and the Black Cats were formed. Now, we still have a lot of work to do. But I'm proud to say that in 2017, GitHub has doubled its percentage of Black employees from 2% to 4%, and I'm even more proud to say that the Black Cats directly contributed to that success. Now, as Black Cats, our work is really focused on 4 primary areas. We're supporting Black Cats we're supporting GitHub to attract and find the best Black talent. We're promoting Black Cat leaderships at all levels within GitHub. And we're facilitating the Black community to come together and participate in open source development and software development projects. And we're building internal systems here at GitHub to help connect the external world to our positive work. Today, the Black Cats are 26 members strong. We hail from 10 different states. And we even have 2 international Black Cats. Since many of us are so far apart, it's always really special when we have the chance to come together in person. Last night, we got to do just that. At GitHub HQ, we got to come together with some of our Black tech contemporaries. We heard from Lo Tony of GV about what he's investing in outside of tech. And we heard from a panel about some of the most pressing and important issues that are facing our industry today. And we learned about how we could collaborate together to start to change the narrative. Now, the Black Cats are extremely geographically diverse, but we're also solving an incredibly broad set of problems here at GitHub. We're deeply embedded into every element of this business. We are the software engineers building your favorite GitHub features. We're the product managers building the marketplace for world-class developer tools. We're the lawyers defending open source policy, and we're the leaders ensuring that GitHub continues to be a world-class company in all the ways that transcend code. Earlier this year, we came together in Miami for the first time as a group for a 3-day mini-summit where we initiated the Black Cats Charter, we defined our roadmap, and we started our journey as GitHub's first executively sponsored employee resource group. While we were there, we had the distinct privilege to serve breakfast to the Chapman Partnership, the full-service, comprehensive support center serving the homeless population in Miami. In May, we partnered with a fantastic employment training opportunity organization called Greater Than. Greater Than provides software development and IT skills for returning citizens to make sure that they have the skills they need to find employment once they return home from incarceration. And in June, 4 Black Cats traveled to Baltimore, Maryland, to do a half-day workshop to teach participants about software development, text editors, and the power of automation in software development. Since then, GitHub has committed to a partnership with Greater Than, and we're going to give ongoing support and resources and training to this organization. But we've only just begun. From here, we'll be participating and partnering with other Black tech affinity groups and employee resource groups. We'll be hosting Black tech events focused primarily on Black engineers. We'll be at career fairs, and we'll be working with the employment experience and engagement group to build an inclusive employee pipeline here at GitHub. That's us, and that's what we're doing. This is how you can find us. Everywhere on social media, we're Black2Cats, and you can reach us via email at black2cats@github.com. If you're thinking about starting an employee resource group at your company but you don't know where to start, just let us know. We're happy to help. If you're already serving the Black tech community, then we want to hear from you. The formation of the Black2Cats is just one way that GitHub is making sure that we're working towards an inclusive software development world. To talk about how we're bringing software more accessibility into GitHub, I'd like to introduce Danielle Leong.
Lively crowd today. Cool. Hi, everybody. My name is Danielle Leong, and I'm an engineer on the community and safety team. And from what we've heard from Merritt and Jared, diversity and inclusion is more than just a buzzword. I mean, living in San Francisco, buzzwords are kind of just what you hear on a daily basis. You go in and you get an expensive coffee, you get your expensive avocado toast. I'm a millennial, so it's OK, I can do this. And then you hear everybody talking about different kinds of JavaScript frameworks. That's just kind of what happens. But unfortunately, diversity and inclusion and belonging has become one of those buzzwords, and I hate that, because it's actually really important, not only for the people who work here at GitHub, but for everybody else who uses GitHub as a platform. And it also needs to be more than just reports and graphs. It needs to be more than just a survey that we send out, and we're like, did we hire more than like 2 women this year? Do we have like brown people? Like, you're kind of tan. Like, OK, that's like, we'll count you. It's fine. It needs to be more than just that. Inclusion and user safety needs to be built into the product itself. Because if you hire diverse people, then they bring their backgrounds into the product, and they make it a lot better. They're able to catch those edge cases so that if something catastrophic could happen, they know ahead of time before it actually happens. Because biases in products can make life miserable for marginalized people. If you don't understand what it's like to experience something because you just don't have that background, then how could you build the best product in order to protect certain people? And it's also not enough to assume that people are going to be nice. In today's world, on the internet, we all know that toxic communities do exist. And it's an unfortunate reality that we need to do something about. In offline communities, such as a conference here, we have social norms and moderation to make sure that people are on their best behavior. For example, if I were to punch somebody in the face, many things would happen. I would definitely get ejected from this conference. I would probably get fired immediately. And the internet would never let me forget. And so these are very, very strong motivations for me to not punch somebody in the face. It should be the same online as well. 79% of Americans, apologies for the international crowd, this study was only done on Americans, believe that online platforms have a responsibility to step in when harassment happens. 34% of Americans believe better policies and tools are the most effective way to curb online harassment. So platforms like GitHub have a responsibility to build moderation and safety features in order to have more inclusive products. Now, most of tech does look like this, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the reality is, marginalized people do face more harassment on the internet. Women are more than twice as likely to have their pull requests merged if they hide their gender. 46% of Black folks experience online harassment on a regular basis. And women receive twice as many death and rape threats as men. And these are all very depressing statistics, but this is part of everyday life. And that's why our team looks like this. We are 85% not men. Yeah, that's pretty good, right? Can I get applause for that? Yeah. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we're also 2/3 women of color. Yeah, come on, come on, come on. There we go. And this is no accident. It's because our lived experiences help us improve the product so that when somebody comes to us and says, hey, my dead name is still on my commits, is there any way that we can do something about it? We're like, yes, your concerns are valid, and we would like to work with you to fix this. So as an engineering team, our job is to build systems that empower inclusive and healthy communities and encourage good online citizenship. We also want to make sure that we discourage behavior that is destructive or threatens personal safety. I was actually speaking to somebody this morning, and they asked me, why the two together? I've never heard of this. Why the two together? And that was an excellent question. The reason why is because we don't want to just play whack-a-mole and say, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. That's not sustainable. Also, just because the internet is kind of like an adolescent, like a teenager, and they're like, well, I wasn't technically doing anything, so like, it's fine, right? We also want to make sure that we build inclusive communities and encourage good behavior so that the community then becomes self-serving, and that we reward good behavior and not just punish bad behavior. And how we do this is one way through tiered moderation tools. Now, I love me a good banhammer. You know, somebody's acting up, and you're just like, no, get out of here. Never see you again, hopefully. Probably they'll come back. But the thing about this is that it's not nuanced enough. What if somebody uses a word, and they don't know the context behind it? You can't just ban them for life. They're never going to have a learning experience from that. So we want to make sure that it's as nuanced as possible so that we can handle a multitude of different types of interactions. Apologies for those of you who went to the keynote earlier today. It's kind of a rehash of all of the fab products that we released. But we released temporary interaction tools. So if there is a flame war, because I know these things do happen on the internet. I've read studies on this. So you can limit your interaction tools to help limit the amount of toxicity that's coming in, so that everybody can take a break, everyone grabs a snack, and then we can come back and we have a civilized conversation. We also want to make sure that it's easier to grow communities, because open source is fantastic, but it's also really, really scary to get started. And so we introduced first-time contributor badges to help welcome new people into communities, so that community moderators know that this is somebody who's brand new, and they could use a little bit of extra love and guidance. We also want to make sure that it's as easy as possible to add a code of conduct to your project. If you add it in early, and if you add it in quickly, then it's a lot easier to make sure that everybody knows what is acceptable and unacceptable behavior. User safety is also very important for all of our users. Our blocked user badge is something that we added fairly recently, which is if you've blocked somebody because you've had a history with them before in the past, and you would like a heads up, then you have an idea if they are a contributor to your project, and you can make that decision if you want to continue working on that project or not. This is also something near and dear to my heart, which is the idea of consensual software, which goes beyond European consent laws. We want to make sure that every feature that we build asks for your consent. We want to make sure that you are aware of what kind of data we have on you. And also, we want to make sure that you want to interact with this feature. Because this way, everybody knows what's going on, and everybody's excited about a feature. If you have time today, at 4 o'clock, my teammate Lindsay is doing an excellent talk on balancing identity and privacy. I highly recommend it. It's a really fascinating talk on some of the work that we did regarding email addresses. So our vision for the future is that communities on GitHub are safe and inclusive, and composed of diverse users acting as model online citizens. Sounds like a great place for me, if you ask me that. But we can't do it alone. We as employees on the community and safety team need the backup of teams like Merritt and Jared in order to be our own authentic selves at work, so that we can build the best product for you. And they're helping make sure that we are growing and we are challenging and that we can bring our whole selves to work. We're here to put in the hard work to make that happen. We're not here to just throw buzzwords at you and graphs and numbers. We're here to actually do the hard work to make sure that you have the best experience possible. So I hope you enjoyed our talk today and how we are building inclusion into not only GitHub, the company, but GitHub, the platform for you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome CEO and founder at Maven, Monica Ann Arambi.
What up, Hubbers? What up? Well, today is a big day. We were able to launch 2017 GitHub Universe. How great is that? Pretty amazing. Everybody was a part of that. Also, this is a big day. You know what today is besides this conference? Thank you. Today is National Coming Out Day, October 11th. So for those of you amazing, queer, gay, fabulous folks that are out and about in tech, raise your hand. Raise your hand if you're out and about, proud to be who you are in tech. Nice. Nice to see you. Now, raise the hands of the allies who are amazing about supporting LGBT in tech, making sure that they're thriving and growing in the industry. Raise your hand. Nice, thank you. So all the other folks who did not raise your hand, just know by the end of my presentation, you'll be coming out. So, NCOD, National Coming Out Day. The first National Coming Out Day took place on October 11th, 1988. So when you think of the 80s, what comes to mind? Big hair, people walking around with shoulder pads that are like football players. You're thinking of hair bands all the way to Michael Jackson doing the moonwalk. You might even be thinking of amazing films like Top Gun, Gremlins, E.T. What are other great things? Maybe technology. You're thinking about Atari, Nintendo, Mario Brothers, going in spaces like this. That's all arcade. Walkman, you're walking around jamming with your Walkman. Maybe that's what you're thinking when I say the 80s. I'm wondering if someone here was thinking about something that was really challenging for the LGBT community in the 80s. Did anybody, when I say what comes to mind for the 80s, did anybody here automatically think of HIV/AIDS? One hand, a few folks. Yeah, this was a big, big time. 1988 was a time that was moving towards the peak of the HIV/AIDS crisis. We had individuals by the rate, like in metropolitan areas like New York and San Francisco. The death rate in 1988 was 80 to 100 people passing away each week. That's a challenging time, isn't it? We had half of the LGBT community running in saying, hey, how are we going to support? We need to do some action. They got involved, did some protests, while the other half ran away, afraid of catching what this gay cancer was in the 80s, right? When you think of 1988, we had a president who could not utter the words AIDS, yet by the closing of 1988, we had over 25,000 Americans who passed away from HIV/AIDS, but we could not have a president to utter these words as an epidemic, more or less take direct action to do change to address the issue. So you might see some LGBT history and you see a lot of protesters back in the 80s wearing this t-shirt that says, silence equal death. Well, that was because of the president at the time. The Reagans were so busy focusing on the epidemic that they saw was issue in the 80s. For folks who lived in the 80s, what was it? Just say no. Just say no to drugs. They were more concerned about the epidemic that was happening with teenagers going on the playground in the back of their high school, smoking a little something. That was the epidemic that they want to address and dive in all this money for this Just Say No campaign, while the LGBT crisis was folding out to 80 to 100 deaths a week. That was not an epidemic they wanted to get involved in, right? They couldn't utter the words. But Reagan was able to utter this. I didn't put it on a slide because I don't feel like it's worth that big of attention to honor that. But what he was able to utter was this. My criticism is that the gays aren't just asking for civil rights. It's asking for recognition and acceptance of an alternative lifestyle, which I do not believe society can condone, nor can I. That's what he said. The gays. I need a shirt that says that. The gays. I'm with the gays, right? So when ACT UP was actively live going out and protesting, trying to bring awareness, realizing that their brothers and sisters are falling and the others are running away, scared, we had protesters that would come out and counter-protest the movement with white surgical masks. A representation of you're sick, you're unworthy, you're evil, you're sinful, you deserve that, right? They had this white surgical mask. When everybody was out there fighting, saying we need attention, they would show up with these white surgical masks saying you're not worthy. So what is a climate? So aside from AIDS, 1988, we had icons that we would say are LGBT icons now, right? George Michaels, Katie Lang, amongst many other icons. At that time, in the peak of their career, were not out as individuals. They were fearful that that would be damaging for their career. So they were very closeted at that time in 1988. And if there were gay characters on television or in movies, guess what? The characters were either dying of HIV/AIDS or they were beat up and killed by the end of the episode or closing of the movie. That was a climate of being able to come out at that time. What about the workforce? What about the tech sector workforce? Right? Well, you're pretty much invisible. You kept quiet. There was even personal ads out in gay papers saying, hey, let's get married. That way we can be undercover, right? Be undercover from work, be undercover from their families. That way no one would question what's going on. Hey, let's get married. So if you were invisible and took a step to being visible, you were either pushed out of a company like IBM or you were fired. That was the climate, the work climate at that time. So what do we talk about when we say transformative? You know, my whole presentation is about being transformative change in challenging times. What does that mean? What am I talking about? It is about causing a marked change in someone or something. Causing a marked change. It's like kind of a transformation, a proactiveness of it, right? So let's go back to National Coming Out Day. It started off with a concept by one organization saying, you know what? We need to have a voice. We have to create a normacy to this thing about being LGBT. Let's normalize it. Let's try to get a face, an image, a logo, a speak for us to say, hey, we need to encourage our folks who are running to come back and stand still and come out. So that's what National Coming Out Day did. They asked one organization step forward, asked one artist to come out, create a logo that a community can back. Just like Black Lives Matter, right? They create a message, a campaign. So did NCOD, National Coming Out Day. In my time, because I grew up in the 80s, I remember National Coming Out Day. I remember when it would hit every time, wondering if that was the time I was going to come out, right? I was working with HIV/AIDS clients and youth at that time too, where we were doing mass funerals, right? We're doing mass funerals. People were dying at such a fast rate that we were doing like we did a service. It was for 20 people. We would do a service, almost like a weekly basis. That's the service that we did, right? I remember a story of a youth that came up to me and saying, I'm HIV positive. And you know what? I'm actually happy about that. And I said, what are you talking about? I said, that way I don't have to be fearful anymore. Now I have it and I can deal with it, right? I'm so fearful of connecting, not knowing what HIV/AIDS is and how it got spread. So a movement came with NCOD saying, hey, let's put a name, let's come out, let's normalize it with other individuals. Let's demonstrate that we are brothers and sisters and teachers and mothers and fathers and lawyers. Like, it was really important. And Keith Haring stepped up and said, I would take that challenge. That one artist stepped up. So with one person on stage saying, hey, come out, I encourage you to come out, others follow suit. So we had generals that were coming out. We had a gold medalist starting to come out. We had actors starting to come out. All these years later, coming out, trying to show that the people that you love, the icons that you look up to, are LGBT. So where are we now? 2017, we're standing here, National Coming Out Day. What do you think? Are we better? What do you think? Well, does this look familiar to you? Kind of looks like 1988, right? So we have a president who doesn't have a problem uttering, right? We have a president that's uttering a lot of things, right? But we have a society that's being challenged and pushed by the concepts and beliefs that this president has, just like the 1980s, right? So it's not being silent, it's being, hey, maybe you need to slow down and be quiet, right? So instead of white surgical masks, what we have in 2017 that symbolizes hate and you're not good enough, we have red hats. That's what shows up at the protests and counter-protesting, or red hats. What about our government? What's happening just in the world, in the US? We have states that are starting to pass bathroom bills because they're fearful of the queers in the bathrooms, though there hasn't been one single incident of an LGBT person taking advantage of someone. But we got to pass those laws, right? We got to pass them. So bathroom bills are starting to emerge. We have a military starting to question if a certain gender identities are of value, are fundable to serve for our country. That's what's happening. We have marriage equality. Everybody celebrates that, but now are being trickled down and being pulled and tugged to see how we can dismantle that now at 2017. What about the workforce? What about the tech workforce? Well, we have 28 states in this United States where you can get fired for being LGBT. 28. But what's great about the tech sector is they're actually being the movement towards LGBT tech inclusion in regards to health. They're making sure policies and benefits are included for their employees. They're moving towards being the most innovative folks when it comes to LGBT health. And when they're building their skyrocket buildings, they're still being challenged of understanding the value of gender-neutral bathrooms. So let's think about the youth of today, 2017. Well, if you identify as an LGBT person, as a young person today, your percentage of one of these has just skyrocketed. LGBT youth comprise of the most highest percentage rate of everything that's listed on this up here. And that has not changed since I was growing up. That's still the same. That hasn't changed. Yes, more LGBT people are out, but guess what? They're more visible, which means they're more easier to target and attack. And you know what's creating that platform that makes it easier? Technology. Technology, right? This is the thing that's shaping 2017. It's technology. Technology has transformed how we connect and look at each other, right? So when you think of the landscape of technology and who's building technology, who comes to mind? Who are the people that come to mind when you think of technology? These are innovators. These are amazing people. Do these folks come to mind? What about the founder of computer science? The reason why we're all standing here or sitting here today is an LGBT person. Isn't that amazing? Talk about National Coming Out Day. We also have amazing people. The first American astronaut, female astronaut in space was LGBT. And yet she was not even out in her whole career. Yet she had a partner. She died. No one knew that. But her obituary honored her partner in it. And that's how we know this person was LGBT. We had the CTO of America, our third CTO of America, LGBT, Megan Smith. These are people that we're honoring in the tech scene. When you think of the tech sector, do you see these individuals? How are we uplifting our LGBT folks when we talk about technology? How are we doing this transformative work? Well, I would like to think Maven Youth is doing that. We're doing that. We're a national nonprofit that our goal is to inspire a young person of today, an LGBT youth, from being a consumer of technology to being an innovator of technology. 10% of the youth that touch our program are computer science driven. They already know they're headed that way. But 90% of the youth that we touch have no clue because of resources or lack of visibility of LGBT icons in tech doing the work. So we need to put ourselves into the landscape, and that is what Maven is doing. So we've been doing summer camps. We have free summer camps. We're nationally, so we're in New York, Texas, here, Boulder, Indianapolis. Like we're out there doing some amazing work, a free program for queer youth to come meet other LGBT tech professionals. We're doing workshops. We're even having youth leaders lead. We're at a point now in our programming that we're having young LGBT individuals who came in our camp now teaching and leading our camp with other youth. Pretty amazing stuff, right? So we do hackathons. We do Hack for Queer Youth. That's actually coming up in November in Chicago. So we're building tech solutions for queer youth. We also do workshops. We do internships. We do all these amazing things. Everything you can think of, black girls who code or girls who code, what they do, Maven does too. But our demographics are LGBT youth, right? So how did this all get started? It was the investment of GitHub. GitHub was the first company that when we were approaching a concept of idea, and the same time that Black Girls Code was doing this, same time, just a concept, GitHub said, you know what? This is important. We're going to fund this. I had no services. I had no program. I had no evaluation to say, hey, look, we're doing great work. Now you're going to fund us? No, I said, hey, I want to do this. I want to create a program that inspires LGBT youth to explore careers in tech, and GitHub says, we're here. So when I said, hey, we're going to do a summer camp, and you know what? I don't even have computers. I don't have no laptops to do our summer camp. GitHub said, no worry. We have all these computers. Here, go for it. Build. And because of GitHub coming out with us, changed. And now we're nationally now because of GitHub. GitHub, the power of one, right? Going back to National Coming Out Day, one person stepping up and saying, I'm coming out for this. GitHub did that for Maven. Because of GitHub, all these other sponsors came in suit too, saying, you know what? Let's back this in. GitHub got you. You know what? We're stepping up and we're doing this great work too. And if your company is not listed on here, it's time to come out. Didn't I say everybody's coming out today? It's time to come out. Your company's not listed, they need to be listed. They need to be involved. GitHub even went further. You know what? They not just give us cute shirts, they didn't just give us stickers, they didn't give us just computers, free space, networking, connecting, building our curriculum, you name it, they've been part of. GitHub said, you know what? We're going beyond sponsorship and in-kind stuff. We are going to invest in the work that you do and step up and say, you know what? What can you do with $100,000? And I said, woo, I can do a lot. So I hope the power of one, this one company, GitHub, investing at this level, other companies will come in suit and saying, you know what? We need to uplift LGBT youth and technology. We need to change the landscape that when we see who's building tools looks different. And GitHub is right there at that door. So once again, National Coming Out Day, and these are the asks that I asked of you, and honoring 20 years later, we're at 20 years later doing National Coming Out Day. I'm asking you to mentor an LGBT young person. We need mentorships, no matter what job you have. At our camps, we don't highlight just developers. We highlight people on HR and media, communications, event organizing. We want to show them when we say tech, there's a whole slew of people that can work in the tech sector, right? So help us mentor some of our LGBT young leaders. Maybe you can lead an LGBT initiative, inclusive policy in your company. Have you looked at the bennies with an LGBTI? Have you looked at your insurance with an LGBTI? Have you looked at your venue space with an LGBTI? Have you looked at your application, your software with an LGBTI? You need to look at with that lens to see what changes that need to be done. Maybe you can host an event. Maybe you can host an event for us. We need hosts for our summer camps. So when youth come to our camps, our events, we're always hosted at a tech company. It helps us as a nonprofit. It's huge. Any other nonprofit person sitting in this room, when I say to you, you know what, I don't pay for my venue. I don't pay for the meals for the youth. I don't pay for the materials. All that's included in the hosting. They'll be like, what? How is that possible? So maybe it's something that you could do is host us. In this room, the pink elephant in this room is that you have privilege. You have privilege by sitting in this space. Some of you are getting paid today just to be educated. Some of you have a program at your company that matches the donation that maybe you haven't thought about donating to any nonprofit before, but yet your company will match it. That's privilege. And because of the challenging times that we live in today, I'm saying to you, if you can hear my voice, that privilege is revoked. That privilege of being a bystander and pointing at other nonprofits and be like, oh, they're going to address the issue. Oh, that activist group that's out there in the streets, they're going to make changes. No, no, no. November election, change that. November, change your privilege of being a bystander. That's been revoked. You need to take a step. You need to come out and be proactive. So please think about all these ways that you can come out in the community, the ways you can come out at work. The last thing I ask is stepping up and being a champion for LGBT youth in tech. And that's a big step. That's the last step on this thing. Because maybe you need to tackle all these little things before you can take this larger step. But it's about time that everybody can think about investing in this community. And lastly, I want to leave you is that GitHub, once again, being the amazing company that they are, is doing a benefit concert tonight. So the neon trees tonight with your ticket that you come and kick it with us tonight. Maybe you want to get some of these cool little shirts I'm wearing, limited edition, vintage, right here. Come to the concert tonight. Celebrate. Let's celebrate tonight because the next day you're going to have to work hard towards some of the other changes of coming out, right? So let's come together as a community and celebrate 20 years of National Coming Out Day. So thank you.
At some point in our lives, the darkness is creeping towards you, whether you know it or not.
We will now take a short break. Breakout sessions will begin at 2:50.